I slid a thin folder across the county table, opened my badge, so the star caught the fluorescent light, and watched Kara Ellison freeze like someone had pulled the power on her spine. The commissioner said, "Complaint dismissed, clerk. Refer this to the district attorney." And the stamp hitting the paper was the exact sound of a gavel. Yeah, that happened. If you've ever had a neighbor try to run your life with rules you never signed, you know the taste of that moment. Let me wind it back, because this story didn't start loud. It started with a quiet morning, a chimney puffing clean smoke, and 2 knocks on a century-old door. I had come home to the Avery homestead, 12 acres of oak, and stubborn ground my great-grandfather deeded in 1904, a house with hand-hewn beams and a stone chimney that had carried family winters for 4 generations. I was restoring it by the book permits, pinned to a corkboard, by the mudroom burn permit. Laminated in a sleeve, weather log taped beside a mercury thermometer. Every receipt tabbed, because that's who I am. I don't like surprises. At 6:41 a.m., Deputy Miguel Reyes stepped onto my porch, breath. Fogging calm eyes, that professional posture. You appreciate if you've ever worn a uniform behind him. Across the fence line, a woman in a tennis visor and white sneakers stood, like she owned the horizon. Chin up, arms folded, waiting to watch a win. "Morning," Reyes said. "We got a call about burning mind if I take a look," and I waved him in. Back pits permitted. 20-foot clearance hose, charged fireplace is lined and inspected. He walked the ring, checked the dates, nodded once. Looks by the book, and that should have been the end. But it wasn't. The visor stepped onto my gravel like it was lava, and said in a voice designed to be obeyed, "I'm Kara Ellison, president of Maple Ridge Meadows, HOA. We have air quality standards. Your smoke is unacceptable." I didn't look at her. I looked at the law. "Miss Ellison, your standards stop at your entrance." Signed, "This property isn't in your HOA." Her smile tightened the way people do when their script gets notes. "We're one community. What affects? One lot affects all. I can work with you. If you'll work with me, otherwise I make some calls." The deputy handed me back the permit, tipped his head, and left. And that's when Kara walked to my front gate and taped up a notice of violation. $500 assessment, like she was serving a royal decree. I didn't rip it down. I photographed it with a timestamp, then another shot with my boot for scale. Then I went back to work, because sometimes the only way to answer a performance is to not audition. If you've been underestimated, you can hear the rhythm when it starts, pare. 12 p.m. Noise complaint. While I'm unloading lumber Wednesday. 8:41 p.m. Suspicious activity because I'm working under pole lights. Friday afternoon domestic disturbance that turns out to be me nailing shingle 7 reports in 9 days. Same cadence, same thin description, like someone was testing how often they could dial without losing the beat. The next Tuesday, a county pickup rolled in at 8:00 a.m. Sharp Henry Dalton. Building inspector clipboard. Tired eyes that had seen too many illegal garage apartments and not enough receipts. I laid out the binder on the kitchen island, electrical packet, plumbing, structural, each cross-referenced to permits and photos. He flipped, paused, looked at me like I'd shown up to an exam with the answer. "See, most folks duck when I knock," he said. "You handed me a table of contents. We walked beam to beam, outlet to outlet chimney liner. Good joists, sistered per spec. No violations," he said. And signed, I made a copy for the file. At 10:20, a gray sedan, with environmental markings pulled in, Inspector Renee Kaplan laced up boots that had touched real dirt. We walked silt socks on the slope, straw. Waddles, spill kit. Near the fuel shed, native plantings where the lawn used to choke the soil. Measurements. Photos. Notes. "You read the manual?" she said, twice. I told her. She smiled, wrote 0. Findings handed me the form. I tabbed it behind the green divider and felt my shoulders drop half an inch. At 1:15, a news van parked at my fence line. A reporter tried on serious faces in her compact mirror, and Kara made sure she was framed over the shoulder like a statue of civic concern. "Do you want to comment on the neighborhood's worries?" the reporter asked. "Sure," I said. The boring truth is the truth. Burn permit. CF 19942 is current. This morning's inspections found no violations. The Avery homestead predates Maple Ridge by 8 decades, and the law cares about maps and jurisdiction more than Facebook momentum. She blinked at maps, narrowed at Facebook, because the story she came to get had started slipping back into facts. That evening, my neighbor Eli Turner left a manila envelope in my mailbox. Inside were screenshots from the HOA group. Kara had written long posts about dangerous emissions and unpermitted reconstruction and historic status in peril, full of the kind of careful phrasing that lives right under the defamation line. I heard, "Some residents say, you know what I mean." Enough smoke to cloud a room while making sure you can't point to a match. 2 days later, a certified letter told me Kara had requested an emergency planning commission hearing to halt my work until the HOA could assess it. And that's when I knew the goal wasn't compliance, it was spectacle. Not an outcome, an audience. The night before the hearing, I drove to their clubhouse, sat in the back row in a ball cap, while the projector beamed "Protect Our Community" in calm blue font. Kara sang her way through air quality children with asthma. A line graph that dipped 1% and got called a collapse in property values. And then she said the quiet part out loud. "We need him to respect the standards we live by if he won't. We'll make him." A hand in a denim shirt went up. "Is that parcel even in the HOA?" The room shifted like a splinter. Slid under a nail. Kara didn't blink. "Maps are technicalities," she said. "Community is community." And I kept my mouth shut because sometimes silence is the trap door you let someone else step through. Back at my kitchen table, I laid everything out like a caseboard. Deed survey permits with green checks, the 7 incident numbers in a neat line. The assessor parcel map. And then, the thing I didn't want to see, but couldn't ignore, a glossy HOA brochure with an aerial photo labeling my tree line, a scenic buffer in their acreage. Count a green swath pretending to be theirs. The selling point that made buyers feel good about open space, except the space wasn't theirs, and it never had been. I called my friend in the county's financial crimes unit. "Off the record," I said, "what happens when an HOA leans on agencies to regulate land they don't own, while using that same land to market value and claim preferences?" She exhaled slow. "Bring copies, all of them. If it's what it sounds like, it's not tidy." And I slept better than I had in a month. The hearing room looked like every hearing room, eggshell walls. Microphones that squeal if you breathe too close, and faces up front that have seen dogs dressed in legal arguments. Commissioner Janet Cole called us to order. Kara had poster boards like a science fair. I had a folder and a pen. "Ms. Ellison," the commissioner said. And Kara delivered the performance she had written. Air quality and wellness, and a neighborhood under siege. Photos of a thin ibn of smoke, like it was a villain. Reveal the ask clear and polished. Halt everything. Until the HOA reviewed it. The commissioner nodded, turned to me. Mr. Avery. And I didn't stand. I slid Exhibit A to the clerk. 7 incident numbers. 9 days. Noise. Suspicious. Domestic. Unfounded. Consistent caller pattern. Then Exhibit B. Building and environmental found 0 violations. Tuesday morning permits, and photo logs behind tabs. Then Exhibit C. Assessor, map, and HOA marketing materials, labeling my parcel a scenic buffer. HOA